Alright guys, TacticalRab again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. With CDL Major 3 in Miami just on the horizon, a legendary COD beef battle goes down last night between OMIT challengers owner Rafi and of course Skyz, journeyman of the scene over the last few years, and massive drama on stream last night. It was all going on. Certainly words were said either which way, but the big nuance about this situation is actually more in detail than many are looking at on the surface level, because this has pretty big implications really for what the whole relationship looks like between the CDL and challengers and the future of the league. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it, but I know many of you guys are here for the drama, so let's pretty much get straight into it. This just to look back on, if you guys haven't been around the scene for that long, especially not pre-2020, you guys may not remember this, but Justin Pistachio put it out there last night that this was meant to be the 2020 World Tour. This is not a made-up graphic. This is the graphic the league came out with when the league first came around. The intention was, can you believe it, to run every single weekend effectively some sort of COD matches around the world. Such an outrageous idea that was never going to last the test of time. I think in many respects the COVID, the pandemic saved the league, because this was an awful idea, and to be fair, they changed this quite shortly afterwards because they realised, well, at least maybe they were informed, that running these matches on every weekend around the world and no tournaments. That's the key thing to note here, right, is that these were just going to be regular league matches in different cities around the world. They would leave the weekend with no champion. It would just be league matches played in various cities. They eventually figured out, okay, probably not the thing to do, so instead we'll do the home series where there's still only 8 teams in attendance, but at least somebody wins at the end of the weekends, and then it all went online, and this idea of the World Tour then therefore swiftly came to a conclusion. But it would have been a crazy season, right? I mean, to think about the amount of weekends of COD that would have been played all around the world, and not all the teams would be there every weekend, but it was still only like a 6-month season, right? So even back then, the ambition maybe wasn't quite in the right spot. But let's talk about challenges. That season, the launch weekend had 168 teams in a 5 versus 5 game. That's when COD was very exciting. And look, back in the day, those challengers teams, how many of those challengers organizations were especially well run? And even today in COD, there's some organizations in the Pro League that are not well run either. The whole point of franchising was to kind of get rid of some of these terrible organizations. Okay, maybe some of them have come and gone over the last couple of years, but it's not really worked as intended. And maybe we're comparing apples to oranges here because this was the first, kickoff tournament of when COD was at its peak in some sense, right? Going into the franchise era, there was lots of excitement. And then this upcoming tournament, I think they're going to have 57 teams out there in Miami for, 4 versus 4 games. So it's definitely, I'm not going to try and deny the challenges has fallen off a cliff over the last few years, but you could argue that it's a bit apples to oranges in the terms of, that was the launch weekend. This is a major it's not exactly the biggest major, and it's not exactly particularly close even, I think, to the venue. There's a little, the Miami Open anyway is a little bit of a drive, let's say, from where the major is going to get hosted this weekend, but the prize money's gone down, and look, I don't think it should be a surprise that the CDL as an appealing option for players in the, let's say, tier 2 circuit has reduced in its interest over the last few years. The league certainly hasn't helped matters. Maybe Warzone hasn't helped matters either, on the sense that competitive Call of Duty multiplayer is not necessarily even the biggest competitive Call of Duty product out there, as unfortunate as that is. So there's various factors in play here, and we've discussed them at length over the last several months. What I wanted to get into, though, is the beef, because that's what everyone's here for. And yesterday, it was all going down. So Rafi, we've talked about him several times before, owner of OMIT, which is an organization that has effectively been running the show in challenges. They tend to have the best teams and the best players. Lots of their guys have been picked up to the Pro League over the last couple of years, and many occasions that has been true this season as well. So Rafi decides, you know what, let me turn the stream on and let's talk about some of these issues, because as he describes, there are still in tier 2 scammers everywhere, right? People are scamming, and as he says, the scams from both orgs and players alike, I've been hearing all year, are abysmal. So he says, look, orgs scam players by not keeping their promise of funding a team and back out a week before the LAN. So they say, look, we'll fund you guys to the tournament, and then a few days before, not sure about that flight, not sure about that accommodation, and the players are left out to dry. Works the other way around too, where the players maybe come in and kind of expect money and salary. He says, lol, for, you know, zero ROI back. And I know that Rafi was also talking about the importance for some of these Challengers players to actually make some content, do something that might be helpful to an organization to actually bring them on, because otherwise, what's even, you know, they can't expect the world if they're giving nothing in return. That's effectively the argument there. So it all goes down, and Rafi says, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go live and I'm going to talk about the numbers. I'm going to talk about, you know, the contracts, the business structure, and how this makes sense on some level in the Challengers pit, as challenging as that may be. So he turns on the stream, he talks about the numbers. The first lesson was, don't expect to make money in the pit. And, well, let me share what followed after that one, right? So recently, in the Stage 3 Elite playoffs, OMIT Brooklyn and OMIT, they played each other in the grand finals, and Craze, Exceed, Mercules, and Prolute, they won the whole thing, right? So Exceed was on this team. But there was, after the tournament, and certainly last night, some contractual related situations, right? Exceed had some questions about the way that a contract was, whether he actually wanted to sign it in that form or not, what that was going to mean if he went to the Pro League, what that was going to mean for the Esports World Cup, and some of these other questions too. And, well, let's just say Exceed is, well, people love to hate on Exceed, right? And on some level I get it, because Exceed's been known as the player over the last few years who, when he's in challenges, he talks a very big game that he's going to get to the Pro League and he's going to fry and everything like that. And I tip the confidence, right? But there's been a few occasions where he has come to the Pro League and it's not happened. And obviously, you know, the Burger King card keeps doing the rounds. So this is why it's very easy for people here to clown on Exceed, and, well, Rafi decided to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, particularly, yeah.
Okay, so what is it that I told you in that contract, in that call?
It was the percentage cut, that you make all roster decisions, and then that the whole buyout thing.
One more time. So I gave you the percentages of everything. I gave you the buyout.
Yep.
I gave you the stipulation that you're not going to come in here and act like you typically do in Challengers, thinking that you run the organization. And
Correct.
I told you what else?
I don't remember. That's all I remember.
So you're admitting to saying, I'm good with all of that.
Yep.
And I'm down to play.
Yep.
I know that I'm having a terrible year. You're fucking not that good at COD. Do you not understand that? You're a fucking liability. The only reason you're still on the team is because you won? Me and Ricky were ready to fucking fire you if you didn't win the fucking Elite. You're lucky that OMIT GG shit the bed in fucking grand finals. You are dog shit. Don't ever fucking test me when it comes to business. Don't ever fucking do that. You're good at one thing in this life, and that's fucking Call of Duty, and you're not even fucking top 20% in that. Don't ever fucking come at my neck like that again. I will publicly fucking expose you, stupid fuck. And I gave you the floor, and you sounded even more retarded after that. I gave you the floor, you fucking verbally agreed to something, and then you sound like a fucking retard. You didn't make a single point. So don't come in here and ask me who is it that you're talking about. I will shoot straight with you, motherfucker. You. I'm talking about you. And I'll look in the camera and say this. Don't ever fucking come at my neck again about business. I run circles around you. Okay? Esports is 1/4 of what it is that I touch. Okay, there's no buyout for you. You're the last one out of all the players on OMIT that should be bitching the way that you are.
EWC. You're not counting champs in EWC.
Brother, do you think that you're going to do anything against the pro players? Why do you think you're down in Challengers? You're not winning EWC. You're not winning EWC, brother.
You're trying to make money after bitching about not making money.
You're not doing anything with COD, brother.
If you're going into an esport,
what don't you understand?
You're trying to make money. You're not going into Challengers. You said that yourself. I have no problem
with that.
I already told you.
And I'm winning everything.
You crashed out because I wasn't signing the contract, Rafi.
You asked? No, that's not what pissed me off. What pissed me off is that you verbally agreed to the contract and the stipulations in fucking fine print. And then you turn around and you don't have communication about what it is that you then changed your mind about what that was. Do you understand what the frustration is? Do you realize how fucking stupid you look?
That's not stupid.
It is because you didn't talk. You are a fucking grown-ass man. How old are you? 26, 27?
Yeah, I'm 23. I'm sorry that
That's literally what I'm fucking... I don't care about you not signing contracts. I was happy I didn't have to fund you. You're not getting to the league. I don't have a buyout on you. I don't have a buyout on you. If I look at the fucking 8 players that are under the fucking team, do you think a single one is fucking ahead of you? All of them are.
All 8 players are not happy with the contract. I gotta go Scrappy.
That's actually a fucking lie. Thank you. Holy fuck, I hate retards. What does he not understand?
So sensational entertainment, no doubt about it. Rafi going in on Exceed for several minutes. Exceed was clapping back a little bit, but it didn't really go to plan maybe. And yeah, it's obviously not worked out in Exceed's favour because he's been getting clowned for a couple of hours on stream last night. I don't think it looks great on Rafi either. Both of these guys are just crashing out basically yesterday. I don't think it looks really professional on either front. And does Exceed have something of a point? Well, let's talk about it, right? Because there's definitely a bit of nuance here. The drama aside, there is a nuance to these kind of challengers contracts that is to some degree worth discussing. So anyway, look, is Exceed somewhat delusional? Yeah, sure, I'll back that. But you know, as was discussed yesterday, it's an interesting debate on what if it's worth signing a contract with a challengers team at all, and OMIT being one of them, right? Because as was kind of described in those clips, Exceed can play for OMIT, but he doesn't necessarily have to have signed a contract, which means that he doesn't get the benefits of the contract for the organization, the funding to the events, but also they don't get the benefits of having him on the team as well in terms of potentially selling him for a buyout. But obviously Rafi was like, well, I'm not going to sell you anyway because you're not going back to the league. So, but Exceed's point is, look, if you go to an event and you expect to win it, then is it worth signing a contract? Because, okay, OMIT will cover the expenses of the travel, but maybe if you're going to make that travel back if you paid it yourself, and obviously the organization is going to take a cut of that, then is that something that you necessarily want to do? In addition to, if you sign a contract in challenges, if you're going to the Pro League, then there are potential buyout implications. But of course, if he doesn't sign the contract, then Exceed is just feel free to walk away whenever he likes, and then it could leave OMIT in a really tricky spot. But, you know, these contracts, I don't know what the contracts look like, of course. But Enodog, who's an actual lawyer, was talking a lot about this last night and kind of some of the implications of the contracts in play, because there's a talk about the buyouts involved, right? So if they have a player on a contract and they want to get signed to the Pro League, there is a buyout that could potentially come to fruition. But the buyout is not written as a number in the contract. The buyout is open to negotiation with the team. And there was even discussion that potentially if the organization doesn't want to pay the buyout, then the player who's going to the league can take a deduction from their salary that will then pay the buyout, which I don't know if that's actually allowed, because the CDL contract, I don't know if there is a CDL minimum salary anymore, so maybe it doesn't matter. But if there still is some sort of minimum salary requirement in the league, then surely that would contravene that from the league, from the player's perspective, from the organization's perspective. Who really knows? But also, is that contract necessarily enforceable, right? Like, if I'm a player for OMIT and the organization in the league wants to sign me, but they don't want to pay a buyout, am I stuck on OMIT? What if I just leave? Because let's say you're Exceed and you have signed a contract with OMIT. If OMIT decide to drop you and let's just say terminate the contract immediately, do you get anything? Do you get a payout? Because that's what happens in the Pro League. In the Pro League, if you get terminated from your deal, they owe you at least 2 months' salary. That's basically the way that it works to ensure that the players have some job security. I don't know if that really exists for challengers contracts. So if they can just drop me for no reason at all, for no additional, like they don't have to pay me anything. I don't know what the contracts say, but assuming that is the case, because I wouldn't be surprised, then surely it works the other way as well. Like, if I'm a player for OMIT and the league team wants to buy me, can I not just say, all right, it's been a pleasure, like, I'm done now, I'm out of here, and then go and join the team because they don't have to pay me a buyout, right? So basically, challengers is a mess, and it always has been, and it probably always will be. But I just wanted to discuss some of the nuances here, because the way that these contracts work, if they are even enforceable legally, which is certainly a question in and of itself, kind of rely on many of the players not really knowing what's going on, I don't imagine, right? Like, look, do the players in challenges have money to pay a lawyer, an hourly rate of $500 plus to go through the contracts? Like, let's be real, no, right? So, they look at the contract, they see what it says, they sign it, they don't sign it, whatever. And it's just fascinating, right? Because OMIT's business model effectively is take great players in challenges, bring them into a team, fund them to events and things like that. And obviously, if they were to make content and be a bigger personality, then they would add more value to the organization. And then when they get signed to the league, then a buyout can potentially be negotiated. But let's say the numbers around that and the way that actually works out in reality is massively, I don't know, I want to say subjective really, based on my reading of what was happening last night. So yeah, I wanted to share the beef. I wanted to talk about some of the, let's say, more business side of this discussion because I thought it was kind of interesting, but very much intrigued to your thoughts as always in the comments. Just one final thing. If you are a Toronto fan, then you might get a ticket to the World Cup. Now, I just wanted to put this out there because Adam Adamu tweeted this out as well. I think we should send some of our biggest fans around the world to the Esports World Cup all over the world, EU, Hispanic America, NA, China. Who wants to go? I'll cover the cost. So if you're a big Toronto fan, you want to go to Riyadh for the World Cup, then, well, hit him up, I guess, is all I can say. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.